what's up? This is Gary from Raz Rentals, and finally, I'm going to review NECA's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Fred Wolf accessory set. This thing came out all the way back in March of 2023. I'm shooting this in August, all right? I missed it the first time around, and then I forgot that it came out for a little while, you know? I was taking like a 2-month break where I was working on a bunch of art projects, and it just kind of, slipped my mind. Eventually, I realized that I didn't have it, and then I freaked out. I panicked, So starting in July, I started looking on eBay, and they were going for around like 130, 135 or something like that. When San Diego Comic-Con came around, I think Trevor had said that it was going to go up for sale on the NECA site. So prices started to go down a little bit. Once I hit around 100, I paid 105 plus tax after it dropped down a little bit. Now, I could have waited for the NECA store, but then after I would order from there, I would have to wait like another, 5 to 6 months or however long it would take. And I didn't want to do that. I just wanted to get this thing already and make a review. I think the retail on this thing was $65 originally. Hopefully, by the time this review goes up, it'll be on sale up on the NECA store and you can grab yourself a copy cheaper than I did. Now, the only thing I regret about picking this up on eBay is how beaten up this box is. Like, it's crushed over here. I got some damage over here. On the eBay listing, it said that it was already opened, and I assumed that it was just so that they could check out the contents because the person had like 5 sold already. And the tape is removed on both sides. Plus, there's these like stickers on it. I kind of assume that maybe the seller bought a bunch on AliExpress or whatever and then was reselling them on eBay to make a profit. But I mean, all the accessories are in here, they're fine. From what I could tell, they're in good shape. So I won't know for sure until I actually open this up. So let's get started. The cover here is a very nice painting by Dan Elson. I believe Aaron Hazuri did the layouts. I think it's a very exciting, very cool looking cover. This box is huge too. It looks as though this box is almost as big as the movie accessory packs that you had to get online from the NECA store. It's really nice how Aaron and Dan were able to fit in a bunch of items that are included in this accessory set on the cover. What I'm really excited about is Macc is right here, really big on the cover and in focus. I was always a big fan of Macc as a kid. Even though he was only in one episode, his personality was very memorable, and I imagine a lot of Turtle fans would buy this set for this dude alone. As I said, everything else is like an item that's included in this accessory set, so I'm not really going to go into too much detail here. I'll go over the detail once I open it up. The only thing I did want to mention is that Dan really painted this video game console to look even more like a Super Nintendo. Like, even the game there, the cartridge is actually painted to look more like a Super Nintendo cartridge. You could even see that it looks like it has the, Nintendo seal of quality on the bottom left, and it looks like you got the Super Nintendo logo on the bottom right. I personally love that he tried to make that cartridge look like a Super Nintendo cartridge because Super Nintendo was my favorite video game console, it's the best. The only thing I was trying to, determine is by looking at the label there, is he trying to do Final Fantasy 3 or is that like ActRaiser? What game is that? On the sides of this thing, there isn't anything too cool, or special. You just have the deluxe figure font here where it says accessory set. It's still kind of made to look like one of the VHS tapes, but obviously this thing is way out of proportion to be a VHS box cover. Yeah, and we'll talk about the bottom of this box once we go over who all worked on this thing. But on the back here, there's some very nice action shots. What I really like is that they try to include as many accessories as they could. Down here, there's even a list of all the accessories included. It says Baby Leonardo, Baby Donatello, Baby Michelangelo, Baby Raphael, Big Macc, video game console, TV with interchangeable screens, cheese painting, pizza box, 2 VHS tapes, backpack, ray gun. Now here's where things get weird because That thing is not a ray gun, all right? It's not a ray gun. And the next thing, turtle tracker, well, it's not necessarily a turtle tracker. It's more of a tracker that the turtles use to find a fragment of the eye of Sarnoth. So it's not really a Baxter Stockman item. The Star of Hoboken, Baby Pizza Monster, Rocksteady helmet, Blowtorch, and multiple baby weapons. Now, they actually missed 2 on the list here. They missed the extra Baxter Stockman head wearing the Shredder helmets, and they also missed the Mouser that is included in this accessory set. But yeah, these action shots are pretty cool, and these baby turtles are cute. Come on. Go back to the front, and you look on the bottom. It says Director Randy Falk, Trevor Zammit, Sculpt and Fabrication, Paul Harding, Paint, Jeff Trapp, Mike Puzo, Prototypes, Roger Fernandez, Photography, Stephen Mazurek, Packaging, Travis Hasback, Illustrations, Aaron Hazuri, Dan Elson. And the bottom left, it says Nickelodeon, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And that's pretty much all the important stuff down there. Now we get to open this up and look at all the contents in the bubble. And there it is. It's upside down. So lots of cool things here, you know. Lots of things I was pretty excited to pick up, actually. I really love that they decided to include another version of the Pizza Monsters. I think I said that during my video that the Pizza Monsters, they change colors. Like first, I think they're red, and then they turn orange, and then they turn yellow as they get bigger. So it's cool. I wonder if these guys are a different shade, red or orange or something like that, compared to the baby Pizza Monsters we got in the past. So now I'm going to open these up, and hopefully nothing's busted. I bet I won't get my money back on eBay if I find any problems. You know, sometimes taking all these accessories out of the bubble can be kind of a pain in the neck. You have to deal with all the strings and wires and rubber bands and whatnot. Whatever. Here we go. Well, that wasn't so bad. So here's everything included in this accessory set. And you know what? Already, just playing around with these things, trying to get this shot together, I was getting a smile on my face because I was like, man, so many cool things are here, like Rocksteady's helmets, the TV from the sewer lair. Like, that's awesome. It looks like there's even a slot here that you can actually fit one of the VHS tapes in there. That's amazing. I did notice that there's only 1 VHS tape, not 2, as listed on the box. And, you know, even though this was making me smile, this was also making me a little angry. Because, man, you know, when I was trying to get the baby turtle ankles to move, you're like, oh my gosh, this is one of the smallest joints. Like, you're trying so hard not to break the little peg inside the ankle. Man, it was bug me. I also think that right off the bat, like the ankles, the feet don't bend up far enough, so it's hard to balance them. I was getting flashbacks to being a kid trying to get my Donatello to stand up. So I'm going to go over every single accessory in this set, provide a bunch of pictures from the show. I'm going to go in chronological order. I think that makes the most sense. This is going to be a very fun review for me because I'm going to have to watch a bunch of cartoons and write a bunch of stuff down. So I really hope you enjoy this. All right, let's get moving here. First, you have one of the most highly sought after accessories in this whole series, Rocksteady's helmet. Yeah, that's right. People have been asking for this since Rocksteady was announced and released. I remember people were even trying to use the Playmates Classic helmet on their NECA Rocksteady, and it never looked right, and some people were making custom helmets for fans, but finally we have an official one right here. Everybody wanted this, and the funniest thing is that out of like 193 episodes, 177 if you don't count the last 2 seasons, Rocksteady only wore this helmet in like 4 episodes. All of them were in season 1, and then after that, it disappears. I think people only wanted it because season 1 was burned into all of our minds back in the 80s as like the best turtle cartoons ever. And, you know, plus he had a helmet on the toy, And he also had a helmet in pretty much every single Ninja Turtle video game that featured Rocksteady. The only one where you can't find it is in Rescue Palooza by Merso X. So that's cool. You know, his looks more like the cartoon than, you know, every other video game. So the helmet first appeared in the Season 1 episode, Enter the Shredder, during the fight between Bebop and Rocksteady and the Turtles at the zoo. Rocksteady didn't wear it during the Technodrome battle when he was first introduced as the Rhinoceros. So I guess he just decided to put it on after he pulled out his retro mutagen gun. Next, it appeared in A Thing About Rats, Hot Rodding Teenagers from Dimension X, and Shredder and Splintered. You know, the battle between the Ninja Turtles and Bebop and Rocksteady and Shredder and Splintered is one of my favorites. And if they ever make like a new version of Rocksteady that's sort of built off of the Rhino Man body, I hope that they would include a extra Rocksteady head with like the street lights in the eyes. That always cracked me up. The helmet sits on his head like this, and I don't know, it looks okay, but I feel like it could have been a lot bigger. You know, if you look at it in the cartoon, it covers most of the back of his head. There's only like holes at the top of it where the ears stick out. If you look at this toy, like they had to cut off the whole side here so that way you can just slide the helmet down over the ear. The other big difference is these straps down here are supposed to be gray. So that is not screen accurate, but I don't know. It's okay, but like I said, I feel like it could have been a lot bigger. If they do make like some new Ultimate Rocksteady, I think they should just make a head with the helmet already sculpted onto it. And if you were curious, I haven't had a chance to pull Rhino Man out of the package yet because I haven't begun a review of these guys, but I figured I would try to include this the best I can. This helmet is like, I don't know, it's like a little too big and it doesn't really fit on his head the right way. So, like I said, you would definitely need to make a new helmet for this different sized head of Rocksteady. Up next is a Mouser. The Mousers first appeared in the Season 1 episode A Thing About Rats. They were invented by Baxter Stockman to take care of the city's rat problem, but nobody would fund him. And after he got his final rejection at Ajax Pest Control, the Shredder swooped in and took advantage of, down on his luck Baxter. The Shredder planned to use Baxter's inventions for his own evil schemes, and then after that get rid of Baxter Stockman. So, in my opinion, these Mousers are the best Mousers in all existence. The articulation offers so many options, like you can have them looking like this, like they're lunging after somebody, or maybe trying to eat a rat, or you can make it look like they're scoping out an area, looking for a rat to eat, or maybe the Ninja Turtles hiding in the shadows. The articulation just offers so many options. You know, you have the mouth joint is a hinge. Of course, you can't get it. Sometimes it gets a little hard. There we go. There's also, like, you can look up pretty high. You can look down a little bit. The neck joint right here is a ball joint that you can move the head all around. You have a swivel hips here. Then you have a knee joint and you have an ankle joint. So you can, like, pose them however you want to. It's perfect. The accuracy is spot on with the show. And we already got a set of Mousers in 2022. And we also got one Mouser in the premonition of a premutation 4-pack. So, there's not a lot more to say about this guy. I know it's a shameless plug, but if you've never seen it, I did a very thorough review of the Mousers last year where I explained how A Thing About Rats was like one of the only Fred Wolf episodes to be very loosely based off of a Mirage comic book. It sort of has some things in it from Ninja Turtles #2. And I also compared that episode and comic book to 3 episodes of the 2003 show. The 2003 show was a much more faithful Mirage-inspired cartoon. So it was kind of cool to see how it was imagined in two different versions, almost 15 years later, or however long it was. Now, we get to talk about the cornerstone of any hangout, the Sewer Lair TV set. Just like most props and locations, which include the Channel 6 News building, the Foot Clan stun rifles, and the sewer lair itself, There wasn't a consistent television model until season 3, but in all honesty, even after season 3, the set wasn't consistent. Like, some of it changed from episode to episode, mostly the buttons and contents of the panel right here. So, let's take a look at some of the TVs used throughout the series. The earliest example I have of the guys watching TV is during the season 1 episode, Shredder and Splintered. In the sewer lair, somehow Shredder taps into their TV to give them a message about the retro mutagen ray generator. This TV is pretty busted and pretty crude. That bottom knob is like kind of pulled out and you can see the wire attached to it, which is a cool detail. Right before the guys watched this television in their sewer lair, they were actually up in a building that I'm not sure if it's supposed to be April's apartment or Baxter's laboratory building. I have no idea what building that's supposed to be. And the TV in that apartment or whatever is actually really, really cool looking and kind of looks realistic. I even like how it has like little finger grips on the side of it so you can pick it up. Because remember, these old TVs were heavy as shit. In season 2, things get a little nuts. All right, you have regular TV sets in the sewer lair. You have some TVs hanging on the wall. This one too. You have a little tiny toaster TV. This one here looks pretty unique. It kind of reminds me of like an old-fashioned radio. My favorite one, though, is this one right here. I like it because of that big 6 under the knob. I can just picture in my head the numbers like changing as you turn the knob. I kind of miss old TVs like that. For a while, those old TVs kind of stuck in your house because, once they broke, you would just put that in your living room and then put your brand new TV on top of that like a TV table. We had a number of broken televisions in my house as a kid that only served the purpose of holding up new televisions and knickknacks. In the season 2 episode Catwoman of Channel 6, there actually was a television set that rests on some books, but the books are on the wrong side, and this television gets destroyed by Bebop and Rocksteady when they get beamed into the turtle lair. And then the guys ask April for a new TV, and she brings them this small one. All right, so now here in season 3, you can see that the sewer lair design is locked in. This is the episode Beneath the Streets, and the TV here looks like the one that we just got, all right? In Turtles on Trial, you can see the style is pretty much the same, but the buttons and knobs are different, all right? All throughout season 3, the TV is similar, but the knobs change, like I said, and sometimes there's like a speaker on that right panel. Here's the TV from the Big Macc episode, and the knobs match this TV pretty well. I think that this is probably the closest knobs to this actual television. After that, I would say the most consistent detail on all these televisions is the antenna set, right? Because you have that one on the left that looks like a rectangle, and then the one on the other side looks like a lightning bolt. That's pretty much in every single episode, unless they, I guess, forgot it. In season 4, it's more of the same. This TV right here is from Were-Rats of Channel 6. And that one looks pretty similar to this television too. In season 5, again, same detail. Sometimes there's a speaker, sometimes there's knobs. During season 6, I have this one picture of the back of the television from the episode The Sword of Yurikawa. I think that the box on the back of this TV set looks pretty similar to that, but there's different things going on here too. And finally, here's like a television from season 7. So, that was a lot of info about TVs that you might not actually care about, but, this is a Raz Rentals review, and that's just the kind of useless information I like to discuss here. If there's one thing I hope you learned while watching this, it's that the animators, just couldn't keep the TV on model. Were they lazy or what? Up next, we'll talk about the VCR. The VCR isn't always on the TV. Most of the times it's just the antennas. So, I don't know. It's nice that they included this because there are a lot of episodes where the guys are watching videotapes. The detail here is just really cool. I like how, this front here is kind of kept on with these, I don't know, it looks like it's kept in place with some tabs. Just like a real VCR set. You could break those off. Is this an extra piece? I don't know. There's no cords or wires or anything like that in the back, but it's fine. This VCR design may have shown up in an earlier episode, but I didn't have an example of it. The earliest one that I have is from the episode Leonardo Renaissance Turtle from Season 5. Here you can see all the buttons are the same, and it just, it looks great. It matches that perfectly. In this episode, Leonardo uses the VCR to show Rex 1 old footage of himself to help remind him who he is. Speaking of old footage, here is a VHS tape that they included. We've gotten tons of VHS tapes in this toy line before this. We got one with Ace Duck. We got 3 with Rex 1, and I think we've had a few other pop up here and there. This is cool because you can actually stick it into the VCR and pretend that it's playing. Very nice. What NECA really has to start doing is including like VHS tapes with covers, because there are lots of cool VHS covers shown throughout the series, like Snow White and the Seven Samurai, or how about this one right here? In the future, what I would really like is a grocery bag filled with tapes, like in The Adventures of Rhino Man. One of the coolest things about this television set is you can actually pick how you want to display it. Do you want the VCR on top? Or do you not? That happens, but do you not want the VCR? And do you just want the antennas? It's very cool that you're able to do that and display this television how you want to, VCR or no VCR? That is the question. Moving on, now we get to tackle quite a lot of information. All right, because now we're going to talk about all of the television screens included here. Some of these are deep cuts and some of them are, pretty well known, but in general, it's just going to be a lot to go over. So sit back, relax, and let's begin again chronologically in order here. First, from the Season 3 episode Turtles on Trial, you have a wrestling match. One of these wrestlers is the Terrible Turtle, and the other guy is just some unknown guy, all right? I think Donatello says that the Terrible Turtle can beat any wrestler with both hands tied behind his shell, but unfortunately we never see the end of this match because before it ends, Mikey runs in and he turns the television onto On Trial with Clayton Kellerman. Clayton Kellerman is a Jerry Springer-like, anger-inducing TV talk show. Aren't you glad that those died off in the 90s? Next, you have Ace Duck from the Season 3 episode Attack of the Big Macc. This is the only time we see Ace Duck in the series, which is, a pretty big bummer. In the Turtles world, Ace Duck is like a cartoon character or maybe a guy dressed up in a suit. I don't know. All I know is the guys say that they're watching an Ace Duck film festival, and then Donatello rudely charges in and changes the channel to put on one of April's special news reports. The best thing about Ace Duck's inclusion here in the series is that NECA decided to make an Ace Duck action figure a couple years ago. Next, from the Season 3 episode, Four Musketurtles, it's Revenge of the Polka Dot Slime, Part 5. This was the only screenshot that I did not have in my collection of Ninja Turtle reference. I didn't know where the hell this was from, so I had to, do my usual thing of looking through episode after episode trying to find it. Luckily, it's sort of easy to find a lot of the television shows they watch because they're usually watching them in the beginning of the episode or the end of the episode. But like I said, I started at episode 1 and just kind of worked my way all the way up until I found this one in Season 3. So in Four Musketurtles, 3 of the turtles are watching this film on their television when Leonardo interrupts them by talking about his Three Musketeers book. I mean, come on, Leo. We're trying to watch a television show here. What's the coolest or craziest or weirdest thing is the guys are eating grape jelly pizza as they watch this movie, which apparently, fits in perfect with the polka dot theme. In the actual movie itself, the polka dot slime is fighting some kind of superhero with a 7 on his chest. The superhero blasts a beam out of a gavel, which decimates the slime. I don't understand what's going on there, I was kind of wondering, what type of superhero is this? He's got a gavel and a number 7. Does he attack with the power of the 1807 Supreme Court when the number of justices increased from 5 to 7? I don't know. Next, from the Season 3 episode Camera Bugged, you have Bebop and Rocksteady stuck in a video camera. You see, in this episode, the Polarisoid Fripp comes to Earth on a well-deserved vacation, and he likes Earth so much he decides to capture it on film. Literally, everything he shoots with his camera gets sucked into it. Even Don Knotts, I know. This is a classic episode, and I really hope that NECA makes this dude someday. I don't know, this was one of those episodes too that was definitely fried into my brain as a child. The funniest thing about this picture of Bebop and Rocksteady is that it actually wasn't Fripp who put them into the camera. It was the Shredder. The Shredder tricked Fripp into taking a picture with Bebop and Rocksteady, and then he sucked them all into the camera. If I was the Shredder, I would have thrown the film into the East River. Next, you have Donatello from the Season 3 episode Case of the Hot Kimono. In this episode, Don Turtelli is stealing kimono so he can find the lost treasure of Emperor Nakamura. The guys make this fake advertisement in order to pull Turtelli and his goons out of hiding. Don here is Kimono Kal. He's your pal. And the commercial invites viewers to come to Kal's Classy Kimonos. Jeez. Hopefully nobody gets lazy and just writes the initials. Donatello says that, if he can't make a deal, he'll eat a silkworm. Gross. Now we're moving on to Season 4 territory, and first up is Godzilla. No, I mean Denver, the Last Dinosaur. No, I mean, God, I hated that show. I mean, Gorgonzola from the episode Bebop and Rocksteady Conquer the Universe. In that episode, Bebop and Rocksteady used the Anxietron ray to turn people into sniveling wimps. Because of this, they're able to gain access to this giant movie prop, and they make it go on a rampage throughout the city. They also control it to eat April, which is pretty cool, right? In the end of the episode, Zach, the fifth turtle, frees April, and Gorgonzola dies the death that should never be named. Just for the heck of it, Gorgonzola also appeared in 2 other episodes that I'm aware of. He appeared in Welcome Back Polarisoids, and he also appeared in Sleuth on the Loose. Ooh, I have an update. Luckily, for this review, I had to watch the episode Back to the Egg. And in the beginning of Back to the Egg, there's actually a Gorgonzola reference, or, you can see it there on the Ninja Turtles television. The guys are watching the lizard that swallowed Pittsburgh, so maybe the animators were just using any kind of monster design on the television. It's not necessarily Gorgonzola. Donatello says that there's no such thing as a giant 30-foot salamander, but there you go. Another Gorgonzola appearance. Next is Vernon on 6TV from the Season 4 episode, The Dimension X Story. Somehow Vernon was able to sucker Byrne into giving him his own talk show. Irma says that he got it because he's controversial. I don't know about that, but he does seem to have a problem with skateboarding pizza delivery boys. And he also asks the important questions like, did Elvis invent the video game? Vernon's ego is at an 11 in this episode, and a lot happens, all the heroes go to Dimension X, the neutrinos make an appearance. Vernon's desire to get the best story and beat April gets him into some hot water. Let's just say Vernon's New York City attitude rubs some of the Dimension X locals the wrong way, and he gets thrown in the Smasherino arena. Next is the Tempestra arcade screen from the episode Leonardo vs. Tempestra. This is also a Season 4 episode. In that one, Leonardo gets addicted to the Tempestra arcade game. And he can't stop playing it. Kind of like me in Tears of the Kingdom. My sons had to give me an intervention the other day. They said, I was obsessed. I told them, just relax, Raru and Tulin. I am Silver Lionel the Depth's bomb arrows must kill King Gleox before the blood moon rises, Made sense to me. Eventually in that episode, Tempestra actually comes into the real world, and the turtles have to stop her. We really need to get a Tempestra already. My Knight of Rogues team just isn't complete without her. And, just for the hell of it, here's some other cool arcade game screens shown in that episode. What kind of game do you think that this is? I'm guessing maybe it's some kind of Adventure Island game where you're running or moving really quick from left to right. Plus you got this weird one with this octopus. The final TV screen is one of April broadcasting from the Channel 6 newsroom. Now, while all of these screens are redrawn remasters of screenshots from the show, or maybe even tracings of screenshots, this one looks the most to me like an original piece of art. Like, the model of April's hair looks on from what you see in the show, but like, I don't know, just something about it looks like it's new. And to be honest with you, I couldn't find a picture in my reference of April broadcasting with that number 6 to the side of her. Lots of times you do see April standing in front of the camera, and she's like usually out, in the world reporting or, interviewing people. I do have a few shots of her in the studio, but none of them look like this one does. There are some, times in the series where you do see other reporters who aren't April shooting from the Channel 6 newsroom, and you do see like the Channel 6 logo next to them. All right, so here is a few things that we could have gotten, but we didn't, all right? I think some of these are definitely a missed opportunity, but some of them are just kind of funny things from the show. So first up, you have Look Out for Daddy from the Big Zip Attack. I just think that's funny. You have Killer Snakes from Outer Space from Snakes Alive. Again, I think that's just a cool title card. Or Snow White and the Seven Samurai. Again, that's just funny. But what about Kung Fu Commandos versus Chainsaw Cheerleaders from Beneath the Streets? Or the Space Turtle that ate Tokyo from Teenagers from Dimension X? You also could have included a screenshot of Zenter and Gisela from Four Turtles and a Baby, so that way you can affix your interdimensional tuner on top of your television and make it look as though Donatello's looking into Dimension X. Now, those all would have been cool, but I think the biggest misstep here is they should have included a Shredder screen. I think everybody knows that the Shredder routinely contacts the Turtles through their television. I mean, he did it in the NES game, and he did it in Shredder and Splintered. He did it in Shredder's mom. Well, I guess he didn't really contact them. He was actually being interviewed, but I feel like, that screen would have been perfect here. And then there's also the Shredder on Dimension X story. So now we're finally done talking about televisions and television screens and all that kind of stuff. And we're going to move on to new things like the Pizza Groove, Pizza Box, and Pizza. Now, the pizza here is just the pizza that was included with the Pizza Monsters. Nothing new there. But the Pizza Groove logo here, this is actually, brand new. And it's a pretty cool reference because it comes from Season 2. Now, I think maybe in Season 2, they were trying to make Pizza Groove a thing, Maybe it could have been like the Ninja Turtles' go-to pizza place, but then Vinny's took over. I don't know. But all I do know is it showed up in 2 episodes. First, it appeared in the Season 2 episode, The Incredible Shrinking Turtles. After the events of this episode take place, including the guys getting shrunk to the size of action figures, the Turtles celebrate in the sewers with some pizza. Now, I love Mikey's face here. I just think that looks so hilarious. Here you can see Mikey opens up all these pizza boxes, and here you can see the Pizza Groove logo. Now, when I was looking at this toy to begin with, I thought maybe they printed it wrong because it seems weird. It seems weird for the logo to be kind of like this. You would expect it to be like the logo would be up this way so you could open it like this. But no, the reason why it's upside down is because in that shot, that's how Mikey opens up the lids. Splinter ordered these pizzas for the guys, and he decided to play a trick on them. Because they all got shrunk in this episode, he decided to get them mini pizza pies. What a dirty rat. Here, though, like I said, the toy, it includes a regular-sized pizza. It kind of would have been cool to have like a mini one. Next, Pizza Groove appears in the episode Curse of the Evil Eye, which is also a Season 2 episode. In that episode, the guys dress up in a few different disguises, and this Pizza Groove delivery man disguise is one of my favorite. I don't know, all the disguises in this episode were pretty funny, but this one makes me laugh too. They all have L's on their backs. Originally, I thought maybe L was for Leonardo, but no, they all have an L on their back. And I absolutely love when Mikey tries to eat the pizzas, and Leo yells at him, "Don't eat the props!" That's perfect. That shows exactly what kind of headspace Leonardo is. He takes his acting very seriously. But tell me this, if there are pizzas in these pizza boxes, why are they all holding the pizza boxes vertically? Come on, that's ridiculous. That pizza's just going to fall in upon itself. So in this episode, the Pizza Groove box logo is different. You don't have that diagonal bar of turquoise, but it is on their suits. So they did include it there. Very cool. In this episode, they never find the Eye of Sarnoth while dressed in these clothes. And as soon as they find Baxter Stockman, they take them off. Up next, you have the tracking device from the Season 2 episode, The Mean Machines. Donatello invented this to track down fragments of the Eye of Sarnoth. He put it together with circuits from the alien spaceship that exploded in The Incredible Shrinking Turtles. The Eye of Sarnoth episodes are all great, and I'm going to cover them a little bit when I get to the Baxter helmet. They're just definitely some of my favorite episodes. So it's really cool that they decided to include a bunch of items from that 4-part storyline. They also included some in the Premonition of a Premutation 4-pack that I'll get to eventually when I make that review. So originally, in the first episode, The Incredible Shrinking Turtles, Donatello was tracking the fragments with an alien tracking device that was given to him by the dying alien. It was called a crystal converger. That device eventually ran out of power in the next episode. It came from beneath the sewers. Apparently they couldn't find any quadruple Z batteries on Earth. So Donatello had to invent this thing. So in The Mean Machines, Donatello tries to use this thing to track down fragments, like I said, but Donatello's not the best inventor because this thing has some problems. At first, it doesn't have the power to find the fragments if they're not giving off any energy. So he actually tries to hook it to the scanner in the turtle van, and that causes an explosion, and then the turtle van goes crazy and tries to kill the Ninja Turtles until Michelangelo throws a nunchuck at the wheel, which makes it crash and stop. You can't do that. You're not supposed to mix alien technology and Donatello technology. Then later on, this actually comes in handy because in this episode, the AI, Omnis, gains control of the turtle van, and he tries to kill the Ninja Turtles, and the way that they're able to stop the turtle van is Donatello uses this tracker to short out the van, So I guess it worked out for something pretty good there. However, later on, the device still can't track down fragments of the Eye of Sarnoth because once the Shredder attaches the eye to Omnis, the eye is giving off too much power, and it confuses the tracking device. So, this thing is somewhat worthless. In the next one, Curse of the Evil Eye, Donatello uses a new tracker that he calls a Sarnothometer. I cannot pronounce it. Sarnothometer. So that device looks like it's kind of built using the crystal converger. So this tracking device, I guess, is retired after this. That is until Season 10. Maybe even earlier in Season 10. But in Season 10, it appears in the episodes The Day the Earth Disappeared. Donatello uses it to track down Splinter. And then in Divide and Conquer, he uses it to track down Krang's abandoned android body in the destroyed Technodrome. All right, so if you look at this tracking device in the cartoon, and then you look at the toy, it is amazingly accurate. Some of the finer details are missing, like maybe some of the writing that should be down here in these sections, like on the gauges. That is not included. And these two little buttons inside this rectangle here, those should be they should be impressed. They shouldn't be sticking out. But other than that, everything looks perfectly fine. All the shapes are there. Same coloring is all there. The major switches, buttons, and dials, they're all there. I love how the thing actually looks like it's made out of different materials. You have this, which I guess would maybe be a metal material that's painted brown, but then you have the handle, which is got a nice grip. which is pretty cool. I love the wire and the plug. I don't know, it's just a very cool, unique design. The paint on the toy is very clean, and I got no complaints with this thing whatsoever. It just looks very cool. The only thing is, I guess sometimes in the cartoon, like Donatello holds this thing like in the middle of it, but this thing is way too thick. You're never going to be able to get his hand to wrap around the midsection of this thing. He's always got to hold it down at the handle. This shot right here, doesn't look anywhere near as good as that other shot, but as you can see, the details remain pretty much the same. Here's a shot of the back, and here you can see the toy matches all of that. Now, there is one shot where the back has a lot more details. The bigger question, I guess, is on the opposite side, sometimes this side is drawn to have like a dial up here, but not all the time. Most of the times it just has the wire connecting to the side all the way down to the handle. Later on, when it shows up in season 10, they did remove some details, like the handle on the bottom, but you look at the face of it and it's the same. Up next, you have Baxter's head wearing the Shredder helmet. This thing looks great. I love this expression on Baxter. I think it's like perfect. He looks so maniacal. It gets a little weird where it connects to the neck, but I don't know. You probably won't be looking at that too much because the sides of the helmet come down and hide that gap. But, this is almost perfect, but it's missing one important detail. It's missing the eye of Sarnoth, the actual reason why Baxter wears the helmet in the first place. So, let me explain this to you. In season 2, there was a 4-part ongoing storyline which centered around the turtles, Baxter and the Shredder, hunting for the fragments of the eye of Sarnoth. All right, it began in The Incredible Shrinking Turtles, where the guys watched an alien spacecraft fall from the heavens. They managed to rescue the pilot from the bottom of a lake or pond or whatever, but all the alien does is tell the turtles that they need to find the 3 fragments of the eye of Sarnoth before they fall into the hands of evil. When questioned, he says that 3 pieces of his ship fell to the earth, and once they're combined, they'll grant the holder undreamed power. I never understood this. Like, 3 pieces of his ship, the fragments are the ship. Like the fragments are just little crystals. Like, I don't understand how that's supposed to make any sense. But all right. He also says that once they're combined, the power cannot be stopped. Well, not necessarily, right? I mean, this is a storyline does end. Anyway, he gives Donatello the crystal converger so that Donatello can track down the energy given off by the fragments, and then he dies. Man, right off the bat, this Ninja Turtles storyline starts off pretty serious. The Shredder hears all this because in these 4 episodes, the Shredder acts a little bit like a sleazy peeping Tom, I feel like all these episodes, he's always hiding behind something, spying on the turtles like a weirdo. In this episode, the heroes and the villains track down the first fragment, which has the ability to shrink stuff, all right? Donatello finds it in a pile of garbage, but the Shredder steals it right away. This episode actually features one of the best and very rare Shredder Ninja Turtle fights. Like, usually he has his underlings do it, like Bebop and Rocksteady, but here there's a pretty cool one where Shredder's just by himself because Bebop and Rocksteady are in Dimension X, and, Baxter's not going to help him because Baxter's a wuss. He's not going to do any heavy lifting. So the Shredder uses the fragment to shrink the guys, and the guys pretty much spend this episode trying to steal the fragment back, all right? Shredder also shrinks some New York City buildings, which is pretty awesome, and reminds me of the Manhattan Project. And I would love like a fish tank with little tiny buildings in it, and like if eventually you get like the Technodrome diorama, that would be a cool piece to have there. These types of episodes are always good too, where the characters have to deal with traveling around or new threats now that they're tiny. It's just like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. And, I love how the Shredder is going to bash the guys with a crowbar. That's pretty brutal. But don't worry, he doesn't succeed. Splinter and April show up to save the guys, and April uses the fragment to turn them back to normal size. But in the end, the Shredder and Baxter still end up with the fragment. You know, at the end of this episode, they never, resolve the whole shrunken skyscraper thing. I assume those buildings are still stuck in an aquarium somewhere because they never show them go back to size or anything like that. The only thing that April really discusses on her Channel 6 news coverage is the mysterious shrinking business is over or something like that, you know? It doesn't sound like the buildings were put back. It just kind of sounds like random buildings stopped shrinking. Alright, so in the next episode, It Came From Beneath the Sewers, the guys continue to use the crystal converger to find the second fragment. But instead, this episode turns into the guys and Shredder trying to hunt down the first fragment because Baxter accidentally threw it out. Now, I kind of disagree with with how they laid out this story, right? I feel like because the fragment they go after in this episode ends up in the carnival, right? And in the next episode, they find the second fragment in a dumpster. So you'd think that, after the piece of the alien ship crashed, the eye would be in some random open area, at a carnival. And I know this sounds crazy, but maybe the first fragment that Baxter threw away, maybe it would be in a dumpster. Not only that, but Baxter and the Shredder study this fragment in this episode like they don't know much about it and what brand new power it has. In this episode, the fragment has the power to evolve a spore-like substance that's on the Shredder's boot into a giant monstrous plant. Feed me, Baxter, feed me. So, once this episode shifts into the Little Shop of Sewer Horrors, the fragment kind of disappears from the storyline and, they don't really discuss it. In the next episode, The Mean Machines, Donnie uses his tracking device that we just talked about to hunt down the second piece of fragment, but the Shredder and Baxter find it first in a dumpster. Baxter was able to figure out the trajectory of the alien ship. That's how we found it. But seriously, it should have just been because he threw it out in the dumpster, all right? Anyway, Baxter says that when the fragments are hooked up to a computer, they'll give the Shredder ultimate power. Somehow Baxter knows to find this Omnis, the omnipotent multiprocessing nexus subuniversal sentience. I don't know why he knows it's in that building, but him and the Shredder find it and they hook the fragment up to it, and it gives that Omnis the ability to control all of the machines in New York City. And Omnis is sort of like a bad guy to begin with, so working with the Shredder and Baxter just makes him triple bad. So when the Turtles find the Shredder with Baxter and Omnis, Leonardo throws his sword, which cuts this power cord that, I don't know, was that what was connecting it to the fragments? I'm not sure. Because Omnis doesn't, turn off until April actually unplugs him, all right? And then, the villains run away, but they never show them actually, take the fragments from Omnis. So why do they still have the two fragments as they leave? I don't know. Again, maybe nitpicking, or again, maybe, incompetent writing. I still like these episodes. It's just not planned out, So in the final Eye of Sarnoth episode, the absolutely fantastic Curse of the Evil Eye, the Turtles hunt for the last fragment with the Sarnothometer. But Baxter and the Shredder find it first in the river. All right. Shredder combines all three fragments with a pair of pliers and a blowtorch. You hear me talking. And then the Shredder attaches the eye to his helmet so he can control the Eye of Sarnoth's awesome abilities through sheer thought and use the power to get rid of the Turtles once and for all. When the Turtles find the Shredder, Shredder says that the eye has the ability to transmute matter, and it can transform any substance into any form. He uses it to create monsters and turn Leo's swords into ice cream cones, which is pretty cool. During this exciting battle, Baxter steals Donnie's Sarnothometer, and Donnie knocks the Shredder's helmet off of his head. And once a person doesn't have the Eye of Sarnoth on their head, the monsters will disappear, or whatever they had transformed will transform back to normal. Shredder's helmet is then picked up and taken home by ex-Channel 6 van driver Blodgett, but Baxter is able to use the Sarnothometer to track it down, all right? This is like I said, this is a fantastic episode because Baxter really shines here, He gets sick of the Shredder's crap, and he finally steps up to be the evil genius he always could be. So Baxter steals the Shredder's helmet, and he keeps it for himself. This scene is actually really neat because he uses a gun that creates body parts, which I think is kind of what they used in Turtles of Time. When he's the Fly, he actually uses that gun that shoots out hands. I think they kind of were inspired from this cartoon because in Turtles in Time, they also used the cement monster, or the blob monsters they call him in this episode. This might be the best human Baxter episode. I like, his eventual personality when he's the Fly, but here I just really like how nasty and evil he gets. Now, Baxter wants to make the world pay for not recognizing his genius. Foolishly, he throws away the Sarnothometer, which will bite him in the ass in a little bit. Right away, Baxter gets greedy, and he decides to build his own Taj Mahal. The Turtles, of course, see this, and they come in for the attack, but then he creates the cement monster, or blob monster, to attack the guys. It doesn't take long for the Shredder to appear too, and he's pretty mad because Baxter kept the helmet for himself. At first, Baxter's doing a pretty good job of defending himself. He even creates a very cool-looking electric monster. Blodgett uses the Sarnothometer to track down Baxter, and then there's a three-way fight between Baxter, the Shredder, and Blodgett over the eye. Blodgett's interruption causes Baxter to get knocked down and lose his edge. In order to defend himself, Baxter tries to turn a golden minaret into a monster, but he learns that the eye has no effect on gold. Now here's the question. If it has no effect on gold, how is he able to create the gold peaks in the first place? I don't know. That's a little bit weird, right? So as I said, Baxter's a little dumbfounded because of this, and that gives Shredder the opportunity to poke him in the eyes like one of the Stooges, which knocks Baxter down, and then Shredder steals the helmet back. In order to escape, the Shredder puts the Turtles in a deadly bubble. But don't worry, Splinter burst the Shredder's bubble. Eventually, at the end of this episode, the Turtles use golden shields to get close enough to knock the Shredder over, which causes the Sarnothometer and the eye to come in contact with each other, which triggers a massive explosion. Donatello says that the Sarnothometer, I hate that word, was designed to destroy the eye when it came in contact with it, right? Now, back with the toy, the helmet looks good. It looks kind of weird when you have him looking down like that and you can see the back of his bald head right there. Like, they should have put the Baxter hair underneath here. But yeah, it looks good. I love his maniacal expression. I think the head looks good proportionally with the body. But, it's just pretty disappointing not to have the eye included right here on the middle of the helmet. If they eventually released an eye of Sarnoth, you would have to either glue it on here. Like, they wouldn't release another Shredder helmet with the eye on it because it's not like you could, take this off and put it on him. You would have to glue it or buy a whole brand new Baxter head with the eye in the middle of the helmet. So it's cool, but like I said, it's not perfect. All right, so now we're moving on to the final item from Season 2, the dreaded pizza monsters. I'm really glad that they gave you two of these guys. It's perfect for the scene that inspired this pose. Both of these guys look wonderfully evil, with these monstrous mouths filled with big pointy teeth. They have no articulation, but that's a-okay. The paint looks nice and clean, and originally I thought these guys would be bigger than the other pizza monsters we've received in the past because, as the pizza monster transforms in the water, first it starts off small and red, and then it gets a little bigger and it's orange, and then it becomes the much, much bigger yellow version. When I saw that NECA was including these guys in the accessory set, I thought, well, maybe they'll be like the mid-sized version of the Pizza Monsters, but they're actually the same exact scale as the original Pizza Monster that we got a couple years ago. And they also appear to be the same exact color. I do think the faces look a little better on these guys, but I guess maybe that scene where this face comes from probably looks a little more like that, and these faces look more like they do in the scene that they appear in. So, this pose for these Pizza Monsters, that comes from the scene where the Pizza Monsters are climbing down the building of the two little kids that accidentally got the Pizza Monster box. So maybe you can put some kind of sticky substance on them and stick them to the wall of a building or your Toon street diorama or whatever. And here you can see how these little Pizza Monsters scale with the larger Pizza Monster as well as Donatello. Now we're moving on to Season 3 accessories, and first up is one of the biggest selling points of this whole accessory box set. Personally, I don't even think that this guy should just be considered one of the included accessories. I feel like he should have been the focal point here, like this box set should have been called, I'll have a Big Macc with a side of some other stuff, because this guy is a standout, And of course, I'm talking about Macc from the Season 3 episode, Attack of the Big Macc. This guy had such a cool and unique design, in the show at least, and he had such a big personality. He was very memorable, and because of that, I always thought that maybe he popped up in more episodes or some other Ninja Turtles stuff, but no. He was only in that one episode. Macc here is obviously a parody or spoof of Johnny Five from Short Circuit, and as a kid, I friggin' loved that movie. I used to watch it all the time. I haven't seen it in years, but I kind of feel like maybe I want to check it out again. Kind of don't, though. I don't know how well it held up after all these years. Other than that one episode of the cartoon, the only other time I remember seeing anything of Big Macc is on the cover of the Big Macc VHS tape. And like I said, that's it. So let's talk about the episode. As Attack of the Big Macc begins, April is giving a special news report on a brand new Army super laser. The laser is super powerful and it can cut through any material known to man. Bricks, steel, and in order to pull off this super energetic task, the laser has to use 1.3 gigawatts of electricity. That would power more than 12 million light bulbs. After the laser is fully powered up, it gets struck by lightning, and the massive amount of power opens up a hole 400 years into the future. This is how Macc enters our time. He gets attacked by the army, but very easily he's able to destroy their weapons without injuring them. Macc's a pacifist who abhors violence, but I don't know, he tries to shoot at things any chance he can get, right? He's also incredibly powerful. He gets shot with the superpowered laser, and all it does is tickle him. Not to mention, when he returns the favor, he has no problem melting the super laser barrel. Seems a little symbolic. One thing I have to say is, when I was a kid, the very anxious music that plays here, always kind of scared me, right? I was 5, but it just sounds so unnerving. It's in 500 other episodes, but for some reason, it just really stood out to me in this one. Krang sees all this happening in the Technodrome. I love that he knows to watch April's newscasts so he can learn about all the brand new dangerous stuff that he can steal and use for his own evil purposes. And that's when he decides that he needs Macc to do some of his dirty deeds. Somehow he looks at this spot on Macc's neck and he's able to determine that that must be Macc's only weak spot. I don't know. It looks kind of like a battery, a power cell, something like that. I don't know. He tells the Shredder to go attach a dosilator there so it'll override Macc's programming and make him easy to control. Krang tells Shredder that he must return quickly with Macc because the dosilator's batteries won't last long. And then Shredder goes on his way. I like how the Ninja Turtles are also watching this newscast, and the laboratory looks like World War III, you know, explosions, the army's getting attacked by this futuristic robot, and the guys are just watching it like it's nothing, like, yeah, this is what we see on TV every day. But then as soon as Macc grabs April, then they all jump up and they're like, whoa, whoa, whoa! We gotta get down there and stop this. Come on, guys! April's in trouble! Their sewer lair must be like right underneath this laboratory because they end up at the laboratory in like 2 minutes. Like, Macc is still holding April. How'd they get there that quickly? Like, or has Macc been holding her for like, you know, an hour? The guys try to save April, but they're having a rough go of it. First, Macc grows like all these extra lasers, which is pretty crazy. And then once some of the guys get close enough, Macc actually grows 2 extra arms to stop them. Things are looking pretty bleak for the Ninja Turtles. That is until Michelangelo puts up a peace sign and says, "Peace, dude." And then Macc, you know, stops shooting, lets the other turtles go, and is like, "Peace, dude." Now, finally, Macc and the Ninja Turtles talk to each other like buddies, all right? Macc tells them that his name is Macc, which is short for Mobile Armored Computerized Combatant. He's from Sector 4, Level 8. I like how Macc talks, both his voice and the way his mouth moves. Macc kind of goes in and out of his normal voice and a cowboy voice. He says that it's because he watches a lot of Western movies on his long interdimensional trips. The group's conversation is really interrupted when some more army men try to blast Macc. That's when he reveals that those bits on his shoulders can rotate and he can actually use the tops as like laser cannons. He does not shoot the army men, but he does blast the device that closes the door. The Turtles try to take Macc to their lair, I guess to, you know, protect him and everybody else in the city. And that's when Bebop and Rocksteady use chainsaws to cut a hole in the ground to capture Macc. But is he wearing the sacrificial ring? No, they want Shredder to put the dosilator on his neck. And NECA, if you're watching, I'm going to need a set of chainsaws for Bebop and Rocksteady. The Shredder tries to order Macc to blast at the Turtles, but Krang's dosilator fails. And Macc tries to blast the Shredder instead. Macc tells the guys that he was able to fight the dosilator's programming because he doesn't like violence. Despite being programmed for war, he's a factory reject. The Shredder returns to the Technodrome and he cries to Krang about how the dosilator sucked. And that's when Krang gives him a brand new and improved dosilator. And it's like, you mean you couldn't have just given me this one to begin with? So Shredder resumes his mission. Up on the surface, April wraps up her interview with Macc. And as they're leaving, Macc thinks that he's found his brother number 5. Turns out it's just a camera. But, you know, I loved jokes like this as a kid. Like, it would blow my mind for shows to have references to other shows that I loved to watch. Next, the Turtles ride Macc to the library, and no, you'll never get him to hold all 4 of the Ninja Turtles. You know, how are Raph's pants in front of Donnie's leg right here? That's a little strange. So at the library, Macc reads book after book after book to learn about the present day. Again, Macc gets confronted by a man, so Macc blasts his belt and they escape. Macc says that he detests violence, so he'll do whatever he can to avoid it, even if it includes trying to kill everybody else. Down in the sewers, the guys introduce Macc to Splinter, and Donatello takes him to his lab so that Macc can amass more data. On the way, one of the funniest things in the episode happens. Macc's circuits are acting up in our time, and every now and then he like blasts a bolt of energy. So while passing the Turtles TV, he blasts one of those bolts and it zaps the television. Mikey cries, "What happened?" And Macc just says, "It appears your primitive image receiver just bit the dust." Like, man, this dude is cold as ice. And what's even funnier than that is Mikey says they still have 28 payments left on the television. Crazy. So Donnie runs a few tests on Macc, and he discovers that his circuits are deteriorating, and soon he's going to blow up. Macc overhears Donatello explain this to the other guys, and he decides to leave the sewer lair to prevent his friends from being harmed. Unfortunately, the Shredder tracks him down, and he attaches the new dosilator to his neck. Now the Shredder has control of Macc, a super powerful, almost indestructible robot. What does the Shredder have Macc do first? Well, attack a police station. The Turtles try to stop Macc, but they have a rough go of it. Macc blasts the turtle van. It almost looks like it exploded, but who knows. After this, Shredder leaves with Macc, and I gotta say, I think Shredder has a good plan here, because instead of hiding out in a beaten down, dilapidated building, the Shredder decides to hide in a luxurious apartment, all paid for with Krang's Alien Express card. I noticed a few times in this episode, like on the television, it looks like there's a blue dog punching a cat in the face or something like that, like are getting ready to punch him. Now, what's even worse news for Krang is Bebop, Rocksteady, the Shredder, and Macc destroy this apartment. So, man, Krang is going to get charged out the ass, and he's probably going to lose his security deposit. The Turtles are able to track down Macc and the Shredder at this building, but the villains have already bailed in a transport module. But luckily, there's an extra transport module, which actually turns out to be a trap. Some foot soldiers shoot at the guys, but they're easily taken care of. The guys use the module to follow the Shredder down to the Technodrome. And, it's kind of cool that the guys are riding around in this thing. To be honest with you, by the end of this episode, they leave the Technodrome with a module, so you would think, oh, maybe in the future they'll have a module that they could use, but no, it never comes up again. Down in the Technodrome, Krang hooks Macc up to some machines so that he can open up a portal to Macc's time. He plans on bringing more Macc robots to present day. The Shredder says that the drain will destroy Macc, but Krang doesn't give a crap, He'll walk over whoever he can to get what he wants. The Turtles finally arrive in the Technodrome, but they get captured and tied up right away. Pretty embarrassing. As Krang turns these machines on, the power becomes too strong, and it causes the dosilator to fall off Macc's neck. So Macc is able to free the Turtles and murder some rock soldiers. Man, a little violent, don't you think? He also melts Krang's feet to the ground, and he manages to open up a portal to his time. Or I don't know how this portal opens up exactly. I guess Krang's machines were able to do it, I guess. The guys tell him that he can be a warrior for peace in his own time. So he leaves, optimistic that, maybe he can blast all of those who may resort to violence. Melt everybody who doesn't bend to his peaceful will. Maybe after he murders everybody, there won't be anybody to try to start a war, Seriously, this dude is one of the most aggressive and violent characters in the show, because anytime any kind of sign of danger pops up, he just starts blasting. He even destroyed some foot soldiers earlier on, like fellow robots. So as I said, Macc is a very cool and overlooked character. I liked him. I thought it would have been neat to have him pop up in video games, or maybe even a toy back in the day. Who knows? It just seems like they could have used him for something else, even though he is a parody of Johnny Five. So for the purpose of this review, I decided to skim through Short Circuit real quick just to find a nice screenshot of Johnny Five. And, I apologize for the, poor quality of these screenshots here. I just didn't have enough time to really get the DVD and take the screenshots like I usually do. But I did want to mention that there were a few things I noticed in the movie as I was going through it real quick. And I didn't watch the whole thing, I just kind of skimmed it. But, one thing I noticed was Macc is trying to amass data, right? So he goes to the library to look through books really quick. Well, I forgot all about it. Johnny Five actually does that at Stephanie's house. But instead of saying he's amassing data, he's looking for input, all right? Not only that, but number 5 becomes defective whenever he gets struck by lightning while being hooked up to a generator. All right, so that's pretty much just like the laser, You had a super powerful laser, got struck by lightning, and somehow that opened up this portal to Macc entering our time. In the movie, Number 5 didn't really shoot that cannon, I don't think, at people. You know, from what I saw, he always used like slapstick to stop people. You know, like he was watching different movies and then, you know, talking in different personalities like the Three Stooges or you know, Bugs Bunny, stuff like that. But, you know, one of these days I really have to sit down and just watch it again, because even just skimming through it right now, like, it's bringing a smile to my face, you know, making me remember all the fun times I had watching that movie, telling people like, hey, Laser Lips, your mother's a snowblower, all that good stuff. So now let's talk about cartoon accuracy. Overall, I think the sculptor did a very good job of capturing Macc's likeness. I mean, he is a robot, but I don't know. It's I think like the head just looks really good, you know. It looks just like he does in the cartoon. The shape of everything is good. I like how this part up here is segmented, so you could put the laser or blaster up there. My only complaint about the head is the mouth doesn't open. You know, I really wish that that could open, just because I liked how he talked so much in the episode. These lenses look really good. And the blue paint inside there actually makes it look kind of like it's glass, you know? It kind of tricks you into thinking that they're real lenses. Sometimes in the cartoon, he's got like this, I don't know, like a power cell or something like that on the back of his neck. It's the piece that Krang says is like his weakness. They did not sculpt that on this action figure, but to be honest with you, that only pops up every now and then in the cartoon. You know, most of the time it is not there. To attach the laser on top of his head, it's actually pretty easy. You just remove that piece, and you just plug the laser up top like so. Now in the cartoon, he uses this laser a lot, but there is a couple shots where he actually produces a laser that pops out the back of his head. I'm not sure if that's a mistake or just proof that, you know, he's got guns everywhere. The torso looks good, and it's pretty much the shape you would want. You know, you have these segments right here. You have this little bit right here. It's pretty much the shape that appears in the cartoon. There is like one shot where it looks like his torso is like flat or something like that. It doesn't look as round as it usually does. My only complaint, I guess, about the torso is I feel like this should have been way beefier. If you look at him in the cartoon, his torso is pretty big and his head looks small. Here on this action figure, it's the opposite of that. You know, the torso appears very small and the head just looks very big compared to that. Maybe they were looking at this shot, but I don't know. In general, it's, you know, his proportions are just a little different than how they appear on this action figure. The arms look good, but this is kind of one of those spots where they just kind of did their own thing. You know, you have this hinge right here. In the cartoon, his elbow joint is kind of strange. And to be honest with you, most of the time it looks like his arms fold out to the side of his body. You know, like if this is the y-axis right here, it looks like his arms bend this way on the x-axis. It's kind of strange. But also some shots it appears as though his arms bend normal. I don't know. But if you look at that joint, it looks like they fold, like the backs of his hands touch his shoulders or something. You know, it's kind of strange. The hands look good. I got no complaints there. He kind of has these mitten hands. Although there is one shot where he's got fingers for some weird reason. Well, it's kind of strange. In the cartoon, he can actually rotate these bits on his shoulders like around so that he can use these as blasters and shoot at people. You know, like he doesn't have to rotate his whole arm. This thing just kind of rotates by itself. Unfortunately, this action figure does not rotate. And also in the cartoon, there's like sometimes where like these little bits right here are actually little doors that little tiny guns come out of that he can also blast stuff with. So, you know, this action figure cannot do that either. He just looks cool, I guess. He's just an accessory, don't judge him. These rods down here look pretty good, and they actually match the look of the show. You know, right where it connects to his torso. That's pretty good. They did a good job of matching that. The weird thing is, in the cartoon, like this bottom rod here, will connect anywhere on this dome. You know, it's never set in the same spot. Also, there's another shot where this rod like connects into the top of his, like the top of the treads, which is also kind of weird, because then you're like, well, then what's that dome there for? So, you know, this looks fine. This looks perfectly good. No complaints. It rotates. I guess I should mention that his torso here is on a ball joint. And his arms are also, there's a ball joint inside of here. So, I mean, you can move around decently. Down here at the treads, you know, this design looks good. Sometimes this kind of changes a little bit from shot to shot, but overall, you know, it's fine. There's even like the same number of rods. I think most of the times there's 5 down the bottom, so that matches perfectly. There's no wheels on the bottom, so you're just going to have to, you know, scrape this across your tabletop, but it's fine. All right, so you can also attach this back laser back here. And now Macc is ready to fight for peace. When it comes to scale, Macc should be a little shorter than the Ninja Turtles, and he should be roughly the same height as Splinter. If you look at this action figure, I don't know, he's close, but I still think he could have been a little bigger. Like, if you would have made this torso a little bit bigger, it would have put the head closer to the top of Splinter's head and probably closer to how he should scale with Donatello. So it is kind of a bummer that, I don't know, he just seems to be a little too short or small compared to Donatello. You know, overall, I probably sounded a little critical, but, like, I don't know. I was really looking forward to this guy because he was a cool character from the show that I really liked. I honestly think that he should have possibly been his own deluxe figure, or maybe should have been in a 2-pack with, I don't know, some other guy. He just, because, you know, you could have included like some more guns to clip onto his shoulders. You could have built in the extra articulation here for the shoulder cannons. You could have made his torso a little bigger, probably put some wheels on the bottoms of his treads so that he could actually wheel around your table, make his mouth move. You know, overall, he's good. I'm glad that I got him, but I just feel like he could have been better. Next, you have the cheese painting from the Season 3 episode, The Great Boldini. In this episode, Zach and his friend, who's a girl, Caitlin, try to stop Don Turtelli and his cousin, the Great Boldini, from stealing the Tortellini Emerald. The Tortellini Emerald is held at the city's museum, you know, that museum, and the only way Turtelli is able to sneak into the museum is by going through the sewers. On his way, he crosses the Rat King's domain, so the Rat King follows him to the museum, and he demands that Turtelli pay him a toll. What does he want? The emerald, of course. Zach and Caitlin do what they can to retrieve and hide the emerald, but Turtelli captures both of them and tortures them with tickles. Here's where the Rat King decides Turtelli's being a creeper, so he goes with his favorite rats to pick out some art stuff to decorate his kingdom. This cheese painting is pretty small compared to this like gradient abstract art that him and the rats are looking at first. You know, this painting is quite exquisite, really. It may be early Renaissance, maybe fettuccine or piccolo porcini. I believe it's an allegory for all of our lives. You know, here we all are, stuck in a societal rat race. All of us just trying to get that one good chunk of cheese, while the rest of the world surrounds us with vomit-inducing hues of yellow, green, and brown. The lack of foreshortening here reminds us all of how life eventually goes nowhere. You know, it really captures the zeitgeist of the Industrial Revolution. This painting here is actually a very nice reproduction of the artwork in that cartoon. I even think the frame looks fantastic, you know. And the best thing about this is, you know, there's a little clip or whatever on the back, so you can hang it up on your wall. Nifty. Up next is the video game console. This has a really cool design because, like I said in the beginning of this video, the system itself reminds me of a Super Nintendo, and Super Nintendo was my favorite system of all time. The The gamepad, though, doesn't really look like a Super Nintendo system. It looks like they were still trying to go for like an Atari-looking joystick. But Atari joysticks were, mostly black, and they only had one button. Here's the bottom. Not much, but you got these little legs or feet or whatever down at the bottom. So that's a nice little detail. And then it looks like you have a hole here so you can hook like a wire into it to make it look like it's actually attached to your television. So check this out. This is pretty cool. I just noticed that there's actually 2 holes on the bottom of the TV. So you could try to hook a wire from your video game system into the TV and then maybe have another wire coming out to, I don't know, maybe either the VCR or make it look like a plug. So that is pretty neat. I don't know, the quality on this is nice. I like it. I don't know how you're going to use this other button on the left. It seems like both buttons should be on the same side. If you're using your left hand to control the joystick, you'd want your right hand to hit these buttons on this side. So it's a little impractical, guys. But that's not NECA's fault, because this was in the Season 4 episode, The Gribbix. As The Gribbix begins, Mikey and Don are using this system to play Pong, all right? In this episode, the guys are playing for high stakes. The loser pays for pizza. Where the hell are they getting money anyway? Maybe they just find it randomly in the sewers. Who knows? So Leo interrupts the game to put on April's news report. Apparently, a gateway opened up to Dimension X, and it allowed a tiny furball with psychic powers to fly into our world. Kids, don't hide under a news van. Vernon should have died here. I do have another shot of the guys playing a video game from another episode. In this episode, Raphael versus the Volcano, they're playing with these different controllers, and I really have no idea what that game could be that they're playing. Other than that, I do like in some of the episodes when the shot composition looks like a video game, like here or here. It's like the guy should be beating up an army of foot soldiers and rescuing April on the top right of the screen or something, Now, this right here kind of reminds me of the NES game, like when you control the van during, was it level 3? But it's, obviously it's very 3D in the cartoon, but it just kind of reminds me of that same kind of thing. And then, this shot, whenever the Ninja Turtles are in the water, this just reminds me of crying. Sorry, this setup was the best I could do at the moment, until we get the NECA sewer layer, which, I will get. I do agree with everybody. It is expensive. $300 seems a little bit much for as little as you're getting. And, usually you would think that they'd include a bunch of like crazy Easter eggs or, crazy references from the cartoon. But, they're keeping it very simple. But, I'm still going to get it. But, I just wanted to show you that, you could set up like the TV and have like Donatello here. I have him kind of... He's kind of bent down as far as he can go, So you got to imagine him sitting on a couch, and then for a table, I just use the realistic TVs that they've released before. But if you look at his hands, you can have him gripping onto that joystick, and you can reach over with his other hand to push the button. So that's pretty good. Next up, we have the 4 baby turtles. They're just like the regular Ninja Turtles, only smaller and annoying. Yeah, that's right. I said it. Look, I lived my whole life thinking that babies and like monkeys and chimpanzees, like stuff like that, and cartoons and TV shows are annoying, and these Ninja Turtles are no exception. Now, I've seen a lot of people post cool pictures of these guys posing with their other action figures and doing funny things and whatnot. I get that, I get it if you think these guys are cool to pose, but baby episodes and cartoons can be very, very irritating. And these 2 Ninja Turtle episodes I'm going to talk about, I think partially prove it, all right? They're not my favorite episodes of the show. The first Ninja Turtle episode to feature baby turtles is the Season 4 episode, Back to the Egg. In that episode, only Mikey and Leonardo turned into babies. Or, I don't know, they look more like toddlers. They're a little tall for babies, but In this episode, Krang creates an age-reversing serum. At first, the Shredder seems unimpressed, but when Krang fills a water pistol with the serum and he turns a chicken back into an egg, Shredder's like, "Oh my gosh, Krang! Finally, I'll have the upper hand on the turtles, right?" No. Krang actually decides to hire some Dimension X goon named Captain Krulik. Maybe Krulik will succeed where the Shredder has failed so many times before. Captain Krulik is the owner of a intergalactic space circus filled with the galaxy's exotic mutants. His right-hand man, or servant, I guess, is Grillix, which sounds really close to Gribbix. Krang gives Krulik the serum, and he forces the Shredder to help Krulik de-age the Ninja Turtles. On Earth, the guys go to Posh Pizza, which is a super swanky pizza joint where reservations are preferred. It's here where Grillix, Krulik, and the Shredder find the Ninja Turtles. Krulik attempts to spray all 4 of the Ninja Turtles' pizzas with the age-reversing serum, but, Shredder, being super petty as usual, nudges Krulik, and then Krulik wastes the serum. He did, however, get 2 of them, so, that's half as good. The guys get their pizzas and eat it in, one of the most disgusting animated scenes I've ever seen. It's Leo and Mikey shrink into babies. Now, I'm just gonna say it, right? Goodness gracious. Hearing Cam Clark cry in Leonardo's voice it just grates on my ears. I respect Cam Clark. I think he's done a lot of good voices throughout the years, but his baby voice, oh man, just not a fan of it. All right, so Krulik and the Shredder attempt to capture the 2 babies, but Donatello and Raphael easily fight them off. During this battle, Mikey and Leo use the distraction to, do the usual baby cartoon stuff, like walk in front of cars, I feel like this episode needed to have a construction site, but it didn't, all right? I guess this dangerous intersection is good enough. Before anything really exciting can happen, Donatello and Raphael save the 2 baby turtles. They all head to the sewers, and that's where Raph and Donnie try to form a plan of action. All they know is the Shredder de-aged Mikey and Leonardo into babies. And unfortunately, they seem to be regressing further and further. They don't actually, they pretty much just stay the same throughout the episode. But Donatello and Raphael leave the 2 babies home alone so they can go hunt for clues. Now here's the deal. Don, how neglectful can you be? I would never leave my, 3-year-old in a room alone, let alone in a New York City sewer. You think coloring will keep them busy? They'll color the walls, or eat the crayons, or pull everything out of the fridge. Come on, dude, what are you thinking? So, after Donatello and Raphael leave, Leonardo and Mikey leave the lair on a cheapskate. Of course they would. They're not even wearing helmets, for goodness sake. All the way across town at the Posh Pizza dumpster, Donnie finds the Turtles' age serum pizza. Now, this is seen as kind of funny because the Ninja Turtles are always buying pizza, but isn't this, more realistic about how they'd probably be eating pizza? They'd be, pulling it out of the dumpster to eat it. Where do they get their cash to buy their pizza? I don't know. Meanwhile, Leonardo and Mikey are causing a disturbance in the streets, and then they find April in the Channel 6 news building. Now, there's this security guard that talks to April, and that is the same cop that was in the Attack of the Big Macc episode. Here he's called Murphy. So the 2 little babies talk to April, and at first she doesn't believe that they're actually Leonardo and Michelangelo, so they start to cry. Dear Lord. April comforts them and then leaves to call Donnie. What? Seriously, what is wrong with these people? As soon as she's gone, Leonardo and Michelangelo break some equipment, all right? And, this episode is filled with tons of coloring errors. They keep on messing up who is who. And they just make a huge mess, all right? Of course they were going to do that. What's wrong with the adults in this cartoon? Don and Raph are down in the sewer when April calls, and they're happy to learn that the baby turtles are up in the Channel 6 news building. They were only worrying about them a little bit, they didn't seem to care that much. But Donnie uses this time, while April's watching the babies, to finish his anti-aging antidote, and then he puts it on 2 pizzas for the baby turtles to eat. To get them out of her hair, April takes them to Uncle Bob's Costume Kitty cartoon show. Here they tell Uncle Bob that their names are Leonardo and Michelangelo, and he replies, "Oh, you must be Italian." And Leonardo says, "No, but we sure like pizza." Now, that's a decent joke. I'll let that one pass. Up on the street, Krulek and Grillix see the turtles on TV, so they head to the Channel 6 news building. They must be moving pretty quickly because in Lickety Split, they're at the building and inside the studio. The villains try to capture the little turtles, but Shredder gets bested by a girl dressed up as Little Bo Peep. I mean, that's super embarrassing. And then, the one kid dressed up as a football player throws a football at Grillix's head, this giant gorilla who was just fighting the Ninja Turtles. He throws a football at his head, and then he charges into him and knocks him across the room. It's pretty crazy. That kid must be super strong. Next, Michelangelo grabs Krulek's whip, and he ties up Krulek. That's it, right? Everything's done. The Ninja Turtles won. The villains are all disposed of, right? End the episode, right? No. Apparently, while they were tickling Krulek, he said uncle, so they let him go. And that's when he tried to grab the Ninja Turtles. Now, April tries to save them, but, she succeeds about as well as you would think, all right? Why does she even try? Donnie and Raph arrive at the studio with the antidote pizzas, and they get Leonardo and Mikey to eat them after promising to get them some ice cream if they eat all their pizza, all right? The 2 toddler turtles grow to normal size. They nearly kill April as a result of that, and then they scare off the villains. Now, this is the last we see of Krulek in the show. At the end of this episode, Grillix gets sick of Krulek pushing him around, and he throws him into his, the circus train car, and the other mutants attack him, and then Grillix takes off. After this, the episode ends with Mikey and Leo fighting over who drew the best turtle. So this, as I said, this is not a favorite of mine. I just think that, babies in cartoons are annoying. The writers always think that they're, cute, but I didn't like them at all. I never thought they were cute. All right. So, it's just why do you got to make them cry? What kid watching a cartoon wants to watch a bunch of babies crying? I do like Krulek and Grillix. I think that they're, decent villains, even though the villainous circus ringleader is, like a cartoon trope that we saw over and over again in the 80s and 90s. It's still okay. It's been done to death. Moving on, the season 6 episode, Adventures in Turtle Sitting. This episode only features 3 of the guys turning into babies. There is no episode with all 4 of the Ninja Turtles turning to a baby at the same time. This episode begins with Splinter leaving to go on a retreat, and you know what that means? Sewer party, right? No. No. The Turtles are way too busy for that, Donatello, for one, decides that he needs to create an invention that will stop the world's hunger problems. Talk about challenging yourself. But surprise, surprise, Donatello actually succeeds, Before you can say 2 pizzas with extra cheese, Donatello unveils his brand new device, the Food Revivifier. The Food Revivifier's ray de-ages old rotten food back to its younger, yummy goodness. Being the slob that he is, Mikey pulls out some old pizza from behind the couch. Who the hell puts old pizza behind the couch? No wonder Splinter left. Mikey tries to freshen up his pizza, but he accidentally bombards the other 3 guys with the Revivifier ray. This turns them into babies that talk with little baby voices and choir. So, unlike the first episode, the Turtles still carry their weapons, which to me is just a funny concept, that the swords turned into baby swords, and like Donatello's bow is like a baby bow. Like, wouldn't it be funnier if like Donatello's bow turned into like a little tree or something like that? As things are getting chaotic in the sewers, April calls the guys to tell them that someone broke into the weather station. The baby turtles run away from Michelangelo and head to the weather station to fight the Shredder. And of course, Michelangelo's like, "No, you can't. It's dangerous," that sort of thing. All three little guys ride on the same skateboard, and this skateboard has not been released in this toy line yet, but maybe the movie skateboard could be like a good substitute, because in the cartoon it looks somewhat realistic. It's not like got like a Ninja Turtle design on it or anything. These baby Ninja Turtles are a bunch of delinquents. Like, they knock over a pregnant lady and then they ollie over her belly. At the weather station, Baby Raph, Don, and Leo confront Bebop and Rocksteady. Rocksteady picks up Leo, and he's about to knock him out. Now that would be funny. But Mikey shows up to fight them with his rope. At first you're thinking, man, 3 babies and a Ninja Turtle with a grappling hook, like Bebop and Rocksteady are going to tear them apart. But no, the babies actually help Michelangelo with some fantastic skateboard moves. Then, just before things get real ugly, April shows up and she saves all 4 Ninja Turtles. Mikey leaves the kids with April so he can go look at Donatello's notes, and then April dumps them off onto Irma. Thanks a lot, April. Down in the Technodrome, Krang and Shredder use the weather balloons they stole from the weather station to float a fake treasure island into the ocean. Why would they do this? Well, this is Krang's plan, and it's a weird plan. He sent fake treasure maps to all of the American criminal leaders, so they'll all come to the island to look for the treasure, and then he'll release the floating island up into the heavens. So he'll be the only ones who rule the criminal underworld. Now, Krang, you already have a giant Technodrome. You got mutants, you have Dimension X weaponry. You could literally send a few mutant modules to each criminal's house and have your foot soldiers wipe them out. This is such a crazy plan. And I've seen these mobsters before, They're even less competent than Bebop and Rocksteady. At April's apartment, the baby turtles wake up from their nap and leave Irma to go get some ice cream. Again, just like the other episode, the baby turtles end up in the middle of a dangerous road. But don't worry, somehow Michelangelo comes out of a manhole to save the Ninja Turtles. I'm not sure if it's a coincidence that he's just right there or what. How did he know that the baby turtles were there and they needed to be saved? What's even crazier than that coincidence is Irma actually opens up the manhole all by herself. She must be super strong. On Krang's side of things, he finalizes production on the bogus island and he moves it into place. All the mobsters or criminal leaders show up, but Krang doesn't get rid of them. He doesn't get the chance to. Why? Well, let's discuss everything that leads up to that. Byrne hears about the island, so he sends April to go check it out. Mikey comes along, and the baby turtles sneak aboard the helicopter, just like DuckTales. Bebop and Rocksteady shoot down the helicopter, and then Mikey, with his grappling hook, and the 3 baby turtles, with their baby weapons, defeat Bebop and Rocksteady and an army of foot soldiers. No, of course not. They get their butts kicked. And then they get captured. The babies manage to escape, and they jump into the ocean, and that's where they turn back to normal. Apparently, the Revivifier antidote was salt water, the turtles' natural elements. Well, that doesn't make any sense. Couldn't it have been at least, something that ages you quickly? Using a tanning bed or smoking? So, the baby turtles, now just turtles, go save Mikey and April. They take out Bebop and Rocksteady. They defeat the army of foot soldiers. And then the Shredder runs away like a wuss. Krang does try to release the island into the stratosphere, but the guys pop the balloons, and then it sinks into the ocean. Unfortunately, there's no explanation about what happened to any of the criminal leaders. Did they fly away? Are they now floating in the ocean? What happened to them? At the end of this exciting adventure, the Ninja Turtles disassemble Don's Revivifier, and Splinter returns home. Now, this episode uses a lot of similar story elements to the first episode. You know, in the first part, Raph said that Splinter was on a sabbatical, so he wasn't even in that episode. Just like this episode, he left, you know. Just like the other episode, you know, you had the baby turtles going out into the, you know, busy highway. April was taking care of them and stuff like, and then she, you know, in the first one, she dumped him off on the Uncle Bob's cartoon show or whatever. Here, she's dumping him off onto Irma. Like, there's just a lot of similarities here. Just like the first episode, like, I can't with good conscience recommend this to you because the baby voices are just annoying, all right? Like, some things are cool. I do, even though it's a silly, crazy plan, I love the, like, Krang making an island to send all of the villains out into outer space. I just think that's hilarious, you know? And I love the actual design of the island. Like, if you look at the island, there's like these cardboard cutout trees. Like, that is hilarious. Or probably my favorite part is Krang gets so mad at the Shredder, he actually turns violet. You know, stuff like that is funny, but the babies, unfortunately, for me, I don't know. So let's talk about the toys. When it comes to cartoon accuracy, there's not much to say. I mean, they're just shrunken versions of the Ninja Turtles. And just like the taller Ninja Turtles, all four of these baby turtles use the same exact body. The only thing I would say that's different is their heights. In the cartoon, the tops of their heads are around the belt level of the other guys. But these action figures, they're a lot shorter. You know, his head is like mid-thigh level. I do find it a little difficult trying to get them to stand sometimes because the ankles don't bend far up enough this way. So you either have to hunch them over or sort of spread their legs apart like in a fighting stance, and that makes them even shorter. See? Don't fall over. The other thing I would say is that in the second episode, Adventures in Babysitting, they actually have their weapons on their belts. So you can't do that with any of these baby Ninja Turtles because there's no space in that belt. But yeah, I mean, they're pretty cool, and we'll take a close look at articulation and their faces and their weapons right now. So here's baby Donatello. Because of the way his arms are sculpted, you can't hold the bow with both hands. The bow is just this little tiny twig, which is just kind of funny. But the articulation on these baby Ninja Turtles is you have a ball joint in the head, and then you have a hinge in the shoulder joint, and it can swivel around. That's it for up there. And then down at the bottom here, you have ball jointed hips, and you have a hinge for the ankle, and luckily you have ankle rockers, which really comes in handy when you're trying to balance this guy. You know, the paint on him looks really good. Oh, you know what? Also, the bandana can articulate too. The face here for Donatello looks pretty good. You know, he's kind of got like a serious look on his face. Like maybe he's pondering where he's going to get his next bottle of milk. Leonardo here, he kind of has like this, I don't know, he's got like a smiling expression on his face. I like it. You know, I feel like it fits his personality just fine. You know, he's obviously serious, but he's also smiling because he loves being the Ninja Turtle leader. And his little tiny swords are cute. This guy shouldn't be running around with these blades. Michelangelo has the trademark party dude look on his face, like he's so excited to be a little kid again. The paint inside of his mouth actually looks pretty good. It looks like there's actually two different colors in there, red and pink on his tongue. So that's pretty nice. His little baby nunchucks are pretty cool because they're actually made out of actual metal chains. So that is cool too. Although, to be honest with you, if you want to get totally dorky about it, when he turns a baby into a baby in the cartoon would be like season 4 and up, he would not be using nunchucks. He'd be using his grappling hook. But nobody cares about the grappling hook. Everybody wants nunchucks. Now here's baby Raphael with his little tiny stabbing size, which is just kind of funny, It's just funny. And that expression on his face makes him look a little angry, like he's mad. He's ready to get sarcastic and sassy into next week and then stab you in the throat. So I just have to say, even though those 2 baby episodes aren't my favorite episodes, these little action figures are still awesome. And, it's pretty cool posing them next to some of the larger action figures, pretending that they're causing some kind of chaos and mayhem for some giant supervillain, Maybe on your shelf you can make a display to tell the story of these baby Ninja Turtles in a cooler way than appeared on screen. Up next is the personality modifying Ray from the season 4 episode Leonardo Lightens Up. Now, I won't do a full review of this episode just in case NECA releases the villain Maestro Clef sometime in the future, but to be honest with you, I kind of feel like that's not going to happen because that guy is super lame, all right? But basically, in this episode, Leonardo is just being like a super cocky, bossy, naggy, judgy, pain in the neck, all right? He's being a real stick in the mud because Splinter left the Turtles home alone, and then he left Leonardo in charge, Splinter's off communing with nature on some mountaintop, on some kind of retreat. So Leonardo feels like he's got to make the other Ninja Turtles stay in shape or something like that, He's pushing them around. But the other Turtles, all they want from Leonardo is just for him to lighten up. Eventually, the other 3 Ninja Turtles vent their frustrations in Donatello's lab, and then Mikey and Raph get a great idea, Use Donatello's personality modifier to get Leo to relax. Donnie warns the 2 brothers that the personality modifier isn't perfected yet, but they don't care. They want to use it on Leo anyways. Donnie tries to take it off of them, but in the commotion, they all accidentally zap Leonardo. Now, Leonardo's personality has been modified. He actually smiles and he calls Splinter an old fuddy-duddy. He even says they don't have to practice their stupid ninja exercises anymore. Happy days for the other Ninja Turtles, right? No. Their plan backfires, and now Leonardo is completely unhinged, all right? He plays some practical jokes on the guys, like feeding them an exploding roast turkey. Man, I wouldn't want to clean that up. To be honest with you, I would love to get a Chef Leonardo head with that hilarious mustache. That's awesome. He also sprays the Ninja Turtles with some water, like a jerk, to wash them off. Eventually, he leaves the sewer lair, and he leaves the guys a note, a booby-trapped note. All while this is happening, the pretty lame villain, Maestro Clef, is up on the surface. He's using an ultrasonic sound system to cause chaos, to irritate people and also to destroy buildings. April sees some of this happening, so she goes to the guys for help. And, they say they'll help her, but first they need to find Leonardo, right? They need all 4 of them to work together as a team. When they do find Leonardo on the beach, he turns them down because he's just having too much fun, He's, like I said, laying on the beach, and he's also doing some surfing. And then later on, he takes up skateboarding. Now, this skateboard right here was released with the Turtles in Disguise 4-pack, which is pretty cool. Eventually, Leonardo does agree to go back to the sewers with them after Splinter returns from his retreat, and he outskates him. He makes Leonardo look like a chump. In order to turn Leonardo back to normal, they put these special goggles over his eyes, and then Donatello zaps him with the modifier. As I said, I left a lot out of this, short explanation. This episode is actually pretty cool, despite the villain being kind of a loser, I especially like the way each Ninja Turtle is written. You know, like the humor is pretty good. I feel like they all have, they all speak very good in like their own voices, I guess. I don't know. I just like the bantering between like Raphael and Michelangelo and stuff. This episode is also a treasure trove of cool accessories because, as I said, you have the Leonardo chef head. You have some cool turtle blimp goggles. You have noise protection helmets. You have Leonardo's stink bomb that he throws into the turtle van to get rid of the guys at some point. You have earmuffs. And then you also have those cool goggles that Leonardo wears whenever he gets zapped with the personality modifier. When we first see the modifier, it's actually in Donatello's closet with a bunch of his other junk. Here you can see Donatello holding the personality modifier. Now, it's a little difficult trying to get his finger over the trigger. Like, whenever I was trying to move the trigger into place, it actually started to cut up that finger a little bit. So, be careful. And here it is in the cartoon. Now, as you can see, NECA did a really great job matching the design. You know, I don't really blame them for thinking that this is a ray gun, because it honestly looks like something that you would see in like a 1950s science fiction movie with like the rings. Next up, you have the backpacks from the Season 4 episode, Splinter Vanishes. In this episode, Splinter leaves the turtles because he says that he has taught them all that he can teach them. He instructs them to leave the lair, and for them to all go on their own way. The guys, of course, are devastated, but they still decide to abide by their sensei's final wish. They pack all of their belongings in these backpacks, and they split up, you know. Each turtle gets a job. Raphael sings telegrams. Leonardo works at a fitness center. Donnie works at Murray's Fix-It shop. And how does he not know who that is? And Mikey gets his own cooking show on TV. Food a la Dude. Now that could have also been a included screen here. Eventually the Ninja Turtles reunite, you know, so that they can stop the combined efforts of Leatherhead, the Rat King, and an army of alligator and rat robots, or is it crocodile and rat robots? During the final battle, Splinter joins the Turtles. What? Yeah. With their powers combined, they're able to put an end to Leatherhead and Rat King's evil plan. All right. At the end of this episode, Splinter tells the Turtles that he only pretended to split up the group, to draw Leatherhead and Rat King out into the open. Kind of a dick move, I gotta say. Like, the Turtles didn't know it was just pretend. You know, they lost their home, and they had to get crappy minimum wage jobs in New York City. Like, the sewer lair is a mansion compared to whatever closet or drawer they had to live in for the past couple of weeks. Poor Donatello's heart was broken because he couldn't return to his laboratory, you know, his one true love. So the details on this backpack match the cartoon perfectly, you know. There's not much to say. It's a very cool design, but it's also very simple, you know, nothing special. Everything is one piece, you know, so the straps and the backpack are all one. You kind of have to put his arms behind his back in order to get it in the right spot. But yeah, it looks cool. And because it's hollow, you can actually fit it over like Donatello's bow holster. So that's good. The only problem is, you know, all four turtles had this backpack. So you're either expected to buy 4 accessory packs, or, you know, maybe beat up your friend sometime and steal theirs. Next is the Star of Hoboken from the Season 5 episode Napoleon Bonafrog, Colossus of the Swamps. The star is a legendary diamond of enormous size. In this episode, Krang hires Big Louie to steal 50 million gallons of antifreeze so he can use it to start the Technodrome's engines. At this point in the show, the Technodrome is frozen in the Arctic. 50 million gallons, that's That's pretty insane, you know. What does Big Louie get in return for this massive amount of antifreeze? Well, he gets the Star of Hoboken, of course. Big Louie upholds his part of the bargain and gives Shredder 50 million gallons of antifreeze, but the Shredder gives Big Louie a fake Star of Hoboken that's made out of glass. You know, maybe Louie should have dropped it into a bucket of water. A diamond would sink to the bottom very quick, but a phony glass diamond would probably float or maybe sink not as fast. So Big Louie vows to find the Shredder so he can get the real Star of Hoboken. He never does get it, and he tries to kidnap Napoleon Bonafrog because he thinks that he can hold him for ransom. He knows that the Shredder wants him, so he's trying to use him as leverage, but unfortunately for Big Louie, he doesn't realize that Napoleon has been zapped with the Mutashooter, and he turns to a giant monster whenever he gets agitated. You know, Big Louie is such a schmuck, he probably never thought that Krang probably never even had the real Star of Hoboken. You know, he probably lied to him and said that he had it when he didn't. Like, they don't really hint at that in the cartoon, but I bet that's what's up, alright? The diamond here looks really cool. I like how the top is see-through. The sides are like a flat finish. Maybe they're painted. I kind of wish the whole thing was see-through. Maybe they kind of painted the bottom here to give it that sort of cel-shaded look. I don't know. The only thing is, we need a Big Louie action figure so we can finish our Napoleon Bonafrog Colossus of the Swamps display. Or, I mean, to be honest with you, Big Louie has just been in a bunch of episodes, you know, like he's definitely a character that needs to have an action figure. And now, the final item. And here is where I tell you 2 hours into this review that I have failed you, because I don't know where this specific Blowtorch design comes from, you know? I can't picture it being some generic item that they made. I feel like it has to be from the show. But all of the reference I have of Blowtorches, they don't match this. So here are the 3 Blowtorches that I have logged in my many pictures from the show. Donnie uses a Blowtorch in Shredder and Splintered when he builds the turtle blimp. You know, it's pretty neat, but that design is definitely not this one. I have the Shredder's Blowtorch from Curse of the Evil Eye whenever he combines the fragments of the Eye of Sarnoth. To be honest with you, I feel like that looks very similar to this. You know, obviously it's straight. It doesn't have this bent piece up here. And it also doesn't have this sticker, but it still has a blue handle. It has this, this knob or whatever right there. I don't know. I feel like that is close, but it's, like I said, it's probably not it. And then finally, I have a Blowtorch from Convicts from Dimension X, which is from Season 7. So, I'll continue to look for this throughout the show as I watch it and routinely check through episodes. Hopefully, one of you cool dudes or dudettes out there can find it and let me know about it. If you do, or if I find it, I will leave a pinned comment in the comments section. That way people can find out what it is. So here's Donatello holding the Blowtorch. And to be honest with you, I feel like this thing is way too thick for his hand. Like, it was a little difficult getting it in there, and I feel like it's going to stretch that hand out. But it's still neat, It'll be very neat to use this whenever we get the turtle van, whenever that is. And that's it. Holy crap! I can't believe I'm finally done, This review took an insane amount of time to put together. A lot of compiling information and screenshots and hours of editing. It took forever, I announced 2 weeks ago that this review would be done on, I think, the 13th. And boy, oh boy, was I wrong, because I originally thought it was going to take me 3 days to put everything together. It took me 14. So I hope you enjoyed, and I hope that you learned something you didn't know. So thanks for watching. Talk to you later, and have a good one.